May 1st, 1863. The dense forests of central Virginia swallowed entire armies. Soldiers could barely see 50 yards ahead. Cannon fire echoed through the trees, but the thick undergrowth hid friend and foe alike. In this tangled wilderness, one mistake could decide the fate of a nation. And according to many historians, Stonewall Jackson believed the greatest danger wasn't the Union Army. It was overconfidence. By the spring of 1863, the American Civil War had entered its third brutal year. General Robert E. Lee had stunned the Union with victories at 2nd Manassas and Fredericksburg.
Instead of attacking Lee head-on, he secretly marched more than 70,000 soldiers across the Rappahannock and Rapidan rivers, slipping around Lee's left flank. At the same time, another Union force threatened the Confederates from the front. Lee suddenly faced the nightmare every commander feared. He was outnumbered by nearly 2-to-1 and risked being surrounded. Most generals would have retreated. Lee chose something far more dangerous. He divided his already smaller army. It was a gamble that violated one of the oldest principles of warfare: never split your forces in the presence of a larger enemy. Stonewall Jackson understood exactly how risky this decision was. Jackson trusted Lee deeply, but he also knew that every bold move carried enormous consequences if even one detail failed. The Confederates depended on speed, secrecy, and coordination. If any part of the plan broke down, Lee's army could be destroyed before it had a chance to reunite. Jackson repeatedly emphasized the importance of maintaining momentum. Every march had to stay on schedule. Every order had to reach its destination. Every unit had to know its role. There was no room for hesitation. Fortunately for the Confederates, Joseph Hooker made the mistake Jackson had hoped for, but never assumed would happen. On May 1st, Hooker's advancing columns began pushing Confederate forces back. The road toward open ground appeared clear.
Rather than continuing his advance, he ordered his army to fall back into the dense wilderness around Chancellorsville. The decision shocked even some Union officers. Instead of forcing Lee into open terrain where superior numbers and artillery could dominate, Hooker surrendered the initiative and waited for Lee to attack. Lee immediately recognized the opportunity. That evening, Lee and Jackson studied crude maps beneath the trees. Reports from Cavalry Commander J.E.B. Stuart revealed that Hooker's right flank was hanging in the air, with little natural protection.
Many Federal soldiers from the 11th Corps were cooking dinner, resting, or playing cards. Few expected an attack from the wilderness. At around 5:15 p.m., Jackson gave the order. Nearly 28,000 Confederate soldiers burst from the trees with the famous rebel yell. The surprise was overwhelming. Union lines collapsed almost immediately. Thousands fled in panic as Jackson's corps rolled up the flank, capturing artillery, prisoners, and vast stretches of ground before darkness finally slowed the assault. It was one of the most devastating surprise attacks in American military history. But victory came at an unbearable cost. Determined to press the attack after sunset, Jackson rode forward with several staff officers to scout the Union positions. As they returned through the darkness, Confederate soldiers from the 18th North Carolina Infantry mistook the group for Union cavalry. Without warning, they opened fire. Jackson was struck multiple times.
He was carried from the battlefield while artillery shells exploded nearby. Doctors amputated his left arm in an effort to save his life. At first, many believed he would recover. Instead, complications developed. Pneumonia set in during his recovery. On May 10, 1863, just 8 days after being wounded, Thomas Stonewall Jackson died at the age of 39. General Robert E. Lee struggled to accept the loss. His famous words captured the heartbreak of the Confederate Army. He has lost his left arm, but I have lost my right. The victory at Chancellorsville became one of Lee's greatest military triumphs. Yet it also became one of the Confederacy's most painful victories. Jackson had been more than a battlefield commander. He possessed an extraordinary ability to move troops rapidly, interpret Lee's intentions, and execute complex plans under immense pressure. Replacing him proved impossible. Just 2 months later, Lee invaded Pennsylvania. Without Jackson commanding one wing of the army, Confederate coordination at Gettysburg often lacked the speed and decisiveness that had defined earlier campaigns. Historians continue to debate exactly how much Jackson's absence affected the outcome, but few dispute that Lee had lost one of his most trusted commanders.
The lesson of Chancellorsville reaches beyond tactics and battlefield brilliance. Jackson understood that bold plans succeed only when leaders respect their risks. He never assumed victory was guaranteed. He recognized that one delayed march, one misunderstood order, or one moment of overconfidence could destroy an entire army. Ironically, the greatest threat to Jackson did not come from Union soldiers. It came from friendly fire in the confusion of darkness. The battle that cemented his legend also ended his life. And in winning one of the Confederacy's greatest victories, Lee lost the commander who had helped make those victories possible.